Welcome to Whippoorwill Holler. I'm Miss Lori and this is Mr. Brown. We live in the hills of Arkansas. We love the Lord. Keepers of the old way, but accept some of the new. We love to cook and we love to eat. We love to garden. It's in our blood. It's how we stay sustainable and fill our pantry. We do a lot of canning and preserving. We live a sustainable life. We love our family. We work hard. And every once in a while, we like to dance. So y'all join us. A good pot of grits is a staple on any southern table. So I'm going to make some good old grits this morning for breakfast. Now I'm going to be using old-fashioned coarse cut grits, yellow grits, and I buy these at War Eagle Mill in Arkansas, and you can go online and buy them on there. We're going to start with 2 cups of water, and I've got about 1 1/4 cup of milk. And I'm going to put about a teaspoon of salt. Now I'm just going to bring this up to a good boil, but you need to make sure when you're making grits that you stand nearby and you keep them stirred because they will stick to the bottom. It's come up to a full boil and you can see I almost let it boil over in the pot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn it down and we're going to stir it real good, and we're going to add our grits really slowly. And we're going to stir while we're putting them in there. Now this is not instant grits. This is a coarse ground grit. And people have different recipes. This is just the one that I use and the recipe that I really do like. And it turns out good every time. Now we're going to let this come up to a little bit of boil again. And then we're going to turn it down to a low simmer. But the one thing you got to do is you got to stand nearby, like I said, and you got to keep it stirred because it will stick. So once it comes up to a little bit of a boil, and you can see the bubbles coming up around the edge, I'm going to stir it one more time. I'm going to put the lid on it, and I'm going to turn it down as low as I can get it, and I'm going to let it simmer anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, and this is the consistency that I like in my grits. It's kind of like cooking, what am I thinking, cream of wheat or something like that. So you're going to put a little bit of butter and some pepper. Put as much butter and pepper as you like. You can see I probably put half a stick of butter in there, but this is the way I like it. And so my grits are done. They're smooth. I kept them stirred. Every once in a while it felt like it was going to stick on the bottom, so you just got to keep them stirred. Let that butter melt. If you want to add a little extra salt, you can do that. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to eat my grits this morning. I made a little bit of sausage gravy. Now I've got a video making homemade sausage gravy, and I'll put that link down below. Mr. Brown making his famous sausage gravy, but I made a little bit this morning to eat with my grits. I love gravy with my grits, and putting a little sausage or bacon in that gravy is just so good, and it's really good alongside of my grits. There's different ways that I eat my grits. Sometimes I put garlic in my grits and eat them as, a side dish to supper or something like that. Get me a biscuit to salt this up with, and this is how I'm eating, maybe with a fried egg. That's how I'm eating my grits this morning. So this is just how we do it up here in the hills of Arkansas. This is how we cook our grits, and they are so good. How about a pumpkin earthquake cake? Well, y'all remember a while back I promised y'all some pumpkin recipes, and I'm just going to start easing them into each video as, well, maybe not each one, but most of them on into October. To me, October is more about pumpkin recipes and getting ready for the holidays, but we might as well get started, huh? This morning the grits were so good. I absolutely love grits. I don't care how you serve them or what you serve them with, whether if it's for breakfast or an entree or whatever. They're so good, and so many good recipes out there. So now we're going to move on, and we're going to make us a pumpkin earthquake cake. Now I know a lot of y'all grew up like I did eating the earthquake cake. It was chocolate and had cream cheese, and it was just so good. Well, this is just a different version of it. This is delicious, especially getting on into fall when you're really wanting them pumpkin recipes. So the only thing I've done a little different is I'm going to be adding some chocolate chips and some pecans in mine, and I'm going to be using a cake mix, and this is going to be a spice cake mix that you just buy at the store. But from there you'll be using ingredients out of your pantry, and it is absolutely delicious. But the first thing we're going to do, because this recipe and some of my other recipes that I make call for pumpkin pie spice. So let's get our ingredients out of the pantry and let's make us some pumpkin pie spice to have on hand. One of the main reasons that I make my own pumpkin pie spice is because I can control the spices. I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of cinnamon. Now you can double and triple this recipe. I'm just making enough right now for what I know that I'll be using probably just through this month. So 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, and I've got 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, and this is fresh nutmeg that I grated myself, but you can use just store-bought nutmeg. I don't put much in there because I'm not crazy about nutmeg, but I like just enough. And we're going to put about 3 teaspoons of ground ginger. Just ground ginger that I bought sometimes. Well, that's probably come from Walmart. And this is my ground cloves. Now, ground cloves is a real intense spice, so I only put a teaspoon. And then all you got to do is just stir that up really good. And that is your pumpkin pie spice. And this is just how I like to make it, in the amount of different spices, so that it's not too intense. Sometimes you buy pumpkin pie spice in the store, to me, that has a little bit too much cloves and nutmeg in it. But if you love nutmeg and cloves, then put more in it. And just put it in a container. Most of the time, if I make a big thing of my different dry spices and stuff, I'll put it in a pint jar. But I'm just making enough that I know that I'll use for this month. And I'm just putting it in a pretty little container here that I got at the flea market the other day. So I've been wanting to use it for something, so this will be a good thing to put it in. And like I said, you can double and triple this recipe, but this is just all I need for right now. So let's get into making our pumpkin earthquake cake. I've got a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, a 1/2 cup of pecans, 3 eggs. I got 2 teaspoons of my pumpkin pie spice, a cup of pureed pumpkin. I've got a 1/2 cup of oil. I've got confectioner's sugar. Okay, this is going to be pretty simple to put together. This is just a store-bought spice cake mix. And then I've got, let's see, this is a cup. Let me look. No, it's 3/4 cup of water. Not a cup, but 3/4 cup. And I will have the recipe written down below the video in the description box below. Let's see, we've got a 1/2 cup of oil, whatever oil you use to bake with. And let me get a fork real quick. we need 3 eggs, 3 large eggs. I'm just going to mix this up. First, I'm going to do it with my spatula here. Now, when you're mixing cake mixes, whether if it's homemade or a cake mix from the store, you don't have to get it the batter just so smooth. It does not hurt that cake to have just a few little lumps in it or something. In fact, you can sometimes over mix your cakes. I mean, you do want it mixed up good, but okay. So we've got our pumpkin pie spice here that we made up earlier, and you need 2 teaspoons of that. Now, if you don't like any of the ingredients that are in the pumpkin pie spice, but you do like cinnamon, sometimes I'll just add cinnamon and not the whole pumpkin pie spice with the ginger and the clove and all that. But this is 2 teaspoons of your pumpkin pie spice. And then you've got your cup of pureed pumpkin. Now, you can do this recipe with any kind of pureed squash that you have, and maybe you've grown it in your garden. You can do it with butternut squash. You can do it with I'm trying to think here. My mind's went blank. Just anything like that you have on hand that's pureed. And let's see, that is all the liquid ingredients besides the spice. And it smells so good, y'all. Smells like pumpkin pie is what it smells like. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get my whisk out and start mixing it up really well. Just not over mixing it. Just make sure that all your dry ingredients are good and incorporated. Let your pumpkin's good and incorporated. And that's what it should look like. Don't that look so good? Of course, the spice cake had spices in it too, but I found that when you buy a store-bought spice cake, it's really not that spicy. It doesn't have just an overload of spice in it. Okay, I've got my 9 by 13 baking dish here that I use so much when I'm making cakes and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite ones. We're just going to I sprayed my dish, and I've got my oven heating 350. My whole family absolutely loves pumpkin pie. And this is what it smells like to me when you're making a pumpkin pie. Uh-oh. Okay, in this bowl we've got 8 ounces of cream cheese, a half a cup of softened butter, and we're going to be putting a teaspoon of vanilla and about 3 cups of confectioner's sugar. Now I've got 3 cups of confectioner's sugar here. I'm going to put in just a little bit at a time. And then I'm going to mix it. Okay, I got my cream cheese mixed up really well. It was really thick, so I added a little bit of milk to it, or if you got a little bit of cream, just to loosen it up just a little bit. So what you're going to do now is you're just going to take this cream cheese and you're just going to kind of dollop it on top of this uncooked cake. And I think the reason it's called earthquake cake, because once it gets baked, it's not real pretty, to tell you the truth. I mean, I think it looks good, but it just looks like it's been through an earthquake, I guess. I don't really know. Now, what I just made here is pretty much cream cheese icing. So it was hard for me not to lick the beaters, so I'm just going to tell you right now. And I didn't share it with anybody either, because ain't nobody here except Miss Lori. And Miss Lori got to get that cream cheese icing off the beaters. Hey, that's just fringe benefits when you're the cook, right? I got a pot of beans cooking back here behind me, some zipper peas that year before last we grew in the garden, and these were in the freezer, just dry. I just put them up in the freezer. Well, I cooked them a little bit, but put them in the freezer. But anyways, let me get me a knife. I got that cream cheese stuff all over me. So now what we're going to do is just take something, a knife, and we're just going to go back and forth like this a few times through your cake. Go the other way. And I usually do it several times. We're going back and forth with it, making sure that cream cheese is distributed really well. And then what we're going to do is take these chocolate chips and pecans I keep messing with it. I'm going to mess it up. Now, how could this not be good, y'all? There's no way. And I can tell you, I tasted the cake batter and it tastes like pumpkin pie. Okay, there we go. That is. It's going to go in the oven, 350. I'm going to check it about 25 minutes, but I'm going to say it's going to take probably about 30 minutes for it to be done. So let's get it in the oven and we'll be back in a minute. Or 30 minutes. What are you working on, Paul?
Well, messed around and bought a wood cook stove.
Another one?
Another one. And it's going to sit out here outside. It's a small Kenmore. Seems to be in real reasonably good shape. And I'm going to set up on these blocks. And right now I'm trying to get things level set it on.
What we're going to use it for?
Well, if times get really hard and it's 100 degrees during the summer and we need to cook, we'll be able to sit out here and cook outside instead of heating the house up. We've got this stove here which you can cook on fine, but it don't have an oven. So if we wanted to put something in the oven, this stove that we got has an oven. Hopefully everything's going to work on it. I got to clean it up on the inside, and biggest chore is getting it in here and getting it set in here. It's very heavy. I'm going to say it's at least 300 pounds.
Maybe I can help you a little bit.
I had 4 men loading it.
4? Well, you ain't got 4 men here?
I had 4 men loading. One of them, I didn't know where they was going to get it up.
Who?
Huh? Who? I went over and borrowed some friends over at school from the shop area, and
He didn't have a bad back, did he?
well, he does now. It wasn't too bad, but it was heavy.
We'll see what we can do.
4 of us got it set in there, and main thing, get it set up and get it cleaned up, and we may cook on it some this winter. Who knows?
Probably.
This fall.
Probably.
I have to cut my wood a lot smaller. It's an old enough stove that your wood has to be really small to. It's not made to heat your house a whole lot for long periods. It's made to cook on.
Well, I'll let you get busy.
Alrighty.
Okay, now we're going to make us a southern side dish. And everything has come from the garden. Except for the onions. I think I bought those. Those are sweet onions. I've got a pot of peas cooked back here that come from the garden from winter before last. They are what some people call cow peas, zipper peas, red ripper peas. Whatever you want to call them, they're delicious. And this is just going to be a small side dish. So what you see and what I tell you that I put in there, you can double and triple it. So we're going to call this a side dish for 2. So let's see. I'm going to put, I've just got a little skillet here. Like I said, you can make a bigger version of this. And I've got a cake, and that cake's still in the oven, but it's almost done. I'm going to get me just a little bit of my rendered lard that I rendered. Probably just about a tablespoon or so. I always save all these jars because they come in so handy for so many things. And putting my rendered lard is one of them. What I've got cut up here is I've got some of my red burgundy okra that Danny just picked. So it's fresh. And it's probably maybe a cup. Like I said, this is just going to be a small side dish. And then his jalapenos, his mild jalapenos that he's been growing. They're so good. I got 2 of those medium size in there. Then I've just got some onions cut up. But the first thing I'm going to do, I shouldn't have mixed all that up, but I'm going to put my okra in here. I don't know, I might just put it all in there. I'm just going to put it all in here. And I'm going to put just a little bit of vinegar in here just to keep it. Now Danny, he likes that little bit of slime that comes off of the okra. So, but I'm going to put just a little bit of vinegar in here, and that will cut down on there being so much slime. So what we're making is okra and tomatoes, and this is just our version of things that come out of the garden. fresh, just picked. I've got some tomatoes right here. These were my little Capri tomatoes, and what I done is I'd pick them and I'd put them in a freezer, wash them, put them in a freezer bag, and when I want some, I just go, and of course the skins would just slip right off of there after they thaw out a little bit. But I only needed probably about a cup, almost a cup of them to go in this. So that will be my tomato part of this dish. And the vinegar I'm going to put in there is white wine vinegar, but you can use just regular vinegar. I'm just going to put about a teaspoon probably. And all that's going to do, like I said, is just help with a little bit of the sliminess in the okra. So I'm going to let this cook for about 5 minutes before I put my tomatoes and my garlic in there. Our okra's been cooking for about 5 minutes. I'm going to add a half a cup of chicken broth. And then I'm just going to add my tomatoes. Now you can use canned if you got canned tomatoes. What these will do, they'll cook and they'll break down. I'm going to put just a little bit of salt. Half a teaspoon or so. Since it's just a small side dish, I don't want to put too much salt. I'm going to put some pepper. And we're going to get about, depends on how much garlic you want. Half a teaspoon of minced garlic. And I'm just going to let this cook. Let the tomatoes break down, come together, and let the okra and the jalapenos and the onions get tender. So see, the tomatoes are already softening up and breaking down. And as they cook, I'll just break them up in there. Stewed okra, peas, ham, cornbread, and beets. It was so good. Whew, I tell you what, that was a lot of good food and good recipes. You know, that's probably been my biggest problem for not all of my life, but probably after having kids, it really hit me, was my love for food and cooking and different recipes. I love all kinds of food. I'm not just one stuck on good old Southern cooking just because I was born in the South and was raised on it. But I can tell you, I love all kinds of cuisines and different cultures and how they cook and the spices they use and how they cook. And I research it and I watch it and I read about it. And I have ever since I was probably a young married woman, taking care of a home and my husband and my kids. But I do love showing y'all and just sharing, you know, people that live in, you know, all different parts of the country, of course. And I love watching so many different cooks in other countries and how they cook and what they cook with and the spices that, like I said, spices they use and all this. I don't just go to one channel or two channels because they're Southern cooks. I watch all kinds. And I can just tell you the truth, I watch a lot of, well, I say over the pond channels in the UK and Australia, over in Africa. I mean, just you name it, just different, Ireland. I just love watching them. I love watching them cook. I love it when they go antiquing. I love it when they're doing just things around their home, whether if they're off-grid, on-grid, and just different things. I love watching them. They're just real. They just seem like such real people. And but what I'm trying to get at is, and I know a lot of y'all like different kinds of foods too. You have to. I love pasta, so I love a lot of Italian food. Of course, I love and was raised on Mexican food, and so people say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I grew up on Tex-Mex, to tell you the truth. So the real Spanish cuisine and all that, I know a little bit about, but not a whole lot. So it was mostly Tex-Mex. I love some of the German food, and over in the UK, I've watched so many of them cook, and they make so many different dishes, and Indian food, there's some of them I like too, and I just really enjoy the spices that they use that are healthy for you. And so I'm out there with my food. So it's not that I just eat, good old Southern food all the time. And I know a lot of people think that Southerners just eat a bunch of fried food, and that's not true. I try to stay away from it as much as possible. But if I do a video frying something, it's just because I want to share that recipe with y'all, not because that's how we eat all the time. Me and Mr. Brown have to watch things like that, and we have to watch our carbs, of course. We don't eat, I'm not constantly making fried pies and coconut meringue pies, even though I could eat it every single day. I don't make them as much now because I know that I'll sit down and eat one or two pieces. So it's with moderation now that I don't bake like I used to. Now, I do bake a lot of our bread. So, we have biscuits every once in a while, of course, for breakfast. But everything's in moderation. If I get on here, like I said, I'm showing you recipes. It's not like I eat like that every day. I can't do it. I do try to eat a lot of salads and a lot of vegetables. I love my vegetables. Danny does too, but probably not as much as I do. Because I can sit down and get me a bowl of just rice and just saute me up some vegetables, and I'm a happy camper. And Mr. Brown would probably want some potatoes and meat on that, but, and I understand that. He's a meat and potato man, but we don't have potatoes every night either, because that's carbs, and rice is too, but I don't eat rice every night either. But I do enjoy cooking our Southern cuisine too. And I have so many recipes, and a lot of them I still haven't even done on video. But sometimes I think, as many recipe books as I've got, and y'all have sent me some beautiful recipe books. Some of them are so old and vintage, and I just appreciate and love every one of them, and I've got them put up. But what I would like to start doing, and y'all can tell me in the comments. I feel like I've got enough recipes to share for many, many years, whether it be, recipes or even canning and stuff like that. But I'd like to just it'd be so hard, just to pick out a recipe book every once in a while, and let's look through it, and just pick out a recipe out of it, whether if I've ever made it or not, and make it, and just look at the cookbook and go through it, because I know a lot of y'all love cookbooks like I do. And this repetition of just coming in and cooking and not really discussing it and seeing the recipe and maybe the book that it come from and where it come from, we can just talk about it a little bit and then make the recipe. And you know what? If it don't turn out, it ain't very good. At least we know that, huh? Because I know I have not uploaded probably since I've got started, probably that I can remember 2 videos because the recipe was not no good. And so I didn't upload those. In fact, I deleted them. Recipes that I had never made before, and they just weren't no good. And of course, Mr. Brown, he's always, if he's here, he's my taste tester. So if he tastes it and says, "Ooh, I don't know about that," then I know it's not a good one. But that's hardly ever happens. But it can happen every once in a while. Not everything turns out, perfect. But The way we cook up here, and that's why I say it's hill country folk cooking, is because it's our community. It's here up in the hills. It's how we cook up here because it's how we were raised. Our mamas, our grandmas, our aunts. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So when you're born into a community or you were raised in a community and this is how the community and the people up here in the hills cook, then that's just part of your life. So, if you go down south of Arkansas, there could be a few different ways that they cook things, but it's pretty much Arkansas, pretty much the same recipes. But if you go up north of us, even up into Missouri, things kind of change a little bit. And as you keep going north, it keeps changing more. So, and it doesn't mean that's bad. It's just different. Different ways that people cook, different ways that they were raised to cook and eat. And none of it's wrong. It's just different. And I love learning about these things. Oh, and I do love Cajun food too. I can't eat it very spicy, but I do like it. But like I said, that's been my fault forever because there's just not much that I don't like. Let's name something I don't like. I don't like turnips. I kind of like turnip greens, but it's not my favorite green. And it's not Mr. Brown's favorite either. Mustards, living here in the South, you'd think we just eat it up, but it's not one of our favorites. Now, you give me some kale and some fresh spinach, and we wilt it down. We absolutely love it. Let's see. Danny does not like anchovies, so don't even go there. What is something I don't like? I love fish, but there's certain fish that I don't like. I'm not big on catfish, but I do love bass and walleye, and that's because that's what my husband fishes for and what we've ate for years, crappie, and we absolutely love it. And I love beef and I love pork. I like chicken. It's not my favorite. I know that sounds weird, but chicken is not my favorite, but I do use it in a lot of recipes. So pork's probably my favorite. But I was raised on that because my grandparents were hog farmers. Even though they had cattle, we didn't eat much beef because that cattle went to making the farm payment. But we did raise hogs and rabbits to eat. And I do love fried tame rabbit. That's really good. I remember that. And I told Danny one day, I said, we really need to get back into raising tame rabbits because I'd just soon eat fry up a tame rabbit than chicken. If you never had fried tame rabbit, it is really good. And people say, well, it tastes just like chicken. Well, a little bit, but it's just a good, rich meat. So I guess there's not much. I don't like liver. And I know it's good for you, but I just can't eat it. Danny don't care for it either. So there's just not a lot that I don't like. I guess that's how I'm able to go in and eat all different kinds of cuisines and different recipes like that because I can pretty much just about sit down and eat about anything. I'm not much on fried foods anymore like I used to be in my younger days. I mean, really and truly, I could care less if I eat a French fry. But I love fried potatoes. And I love it when I fry them because I don't put a lot of greasy and they don't come out greasy and oily and stuff. So I think that's why I don't care for French fries as much. I mean, I will eat them. And our homemade French fries are so good. The ones that I put up in the freezer, they turn out so good. I don't eat a lot of bread. But when I make homemade bread, when it first comes out of the oven, you better believe I'm going to cut me a piece and slap me some butter on it. But as far as just eating bread, me and Mr. Brown kind of waste bread. So I really try to remember to cut it in half and freeze the other half till later because we just can't consume a whole loaf of bread. So that's why I'm not having to make homemade bread every day. But if the kids were here, we'd be making bread every day. We love tortillas, and I like eating tortillas as for my bread, for a wrap or anything like that. And of course, Danny loves biscuits. He loves cornbread. But like I said, we don't eat that stuff every day. We have to be careful with it in moderation. And one of our biggest things that we like to treat ourselves with, if we don't do it ourselves, and we haven't in a while, I don't know why, but we just haven't, but we love smoked brisket, smoked pork, and smoked chicken. And we used to do a lot of it. Here lately we haven't done much. Our smoker's kind of messing up on us, but we're going to get back into doing that, especially when it starts cooling off. But we will drive 2 hours to a good barbecue place. And I guess I can go ahead and tell you where we usually go. Heber Springs, just right outside the town of Heber Springs, which is 2 hours from here. There's a barbecue place, and it's called Brothers Barbecue. And it is some of the best that you can go to and eat, especially in our area. And I'm sure there's some more, but we don't know where they're at. There's a good place, I think, in Jonesboro. But I was spoilt living 13 years in Texas, and my family are from Texas. And that's the best barbecue, smoked brisket. My friend Debbie, when first, like, let's see, we was in, not Sulphur Springs, but we was around Yanis at Fork Lake, and she come and seen us, and she brought some of the best brisket. And even my daughter still talks about that. She said, Mom, that's the best brisket I've ate. I said, I know it is. They know how to smoke a brisket down there. But anyhow, just showing y'all just different ways that we cook. I mean, I just love it. And I also love just doing our daily vlogs of y'all just coming along on that blog and just my everyday stuff. And I think y'all really enjoy that too. But if y'all think that y'all would like seeing some of my recipe books or going through all of them, and that would take many years, and just looking at them, talking about them, and doing a recipe out of them, whether it's a good recipe or not, just let me know in the comments, because I love doing different stuff like that. Mr. Brown went and purchased another wood cook stove, and we showed that to you, and put it out underneath the cooking shed. Just preparing a little bit more in case we ever have to go off grid. We're not off grid. Some people I think that we are, but we're not off grid. But we are totally prepared for being off grid. And we got this wood cook stove. Is very old. It's old enough that it doesn't have a very big. You can't put very big wood in it, but still you can cook on it. And it come from a dear friend that it was her aunt's, that her aunt cooked on it every day, and we got a good price on it, and it's still in good enough condition that I think we could even go ahead and use the oven. Like in the summertime, I can go out there and bake in it, so that'll be good. But our main issue was to make sure that if things go wherever they could, and it don't even, I mean, it could be for any reason, that we can go out there and we can heat water and we can cook. Now, we've got a wood cook stove here in our house too, but during summertime you can't hardly do that. So, and that's how we heat our house, and that's what I cook on a lot and heat water on and stuff like that. So that's just one more thing that we were able to do to put ourselves in a good situation if the grid was to go down for a long time. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I just love talking to y'all. I just wish everybody could just sit here and we could just talk all day. And I know that we would, probably all day and all night and forever. But, so, eating grits is a southern thing. A lot of people don't like grits. Danny don't really care for them, but I absolutely love them. And the only way that he eats rice is if it's sweet rice, which has got a little bit of milk and sugar in it and a little bit of cinnamon. But he will eat my fried rice and stuff like that. He does like that. Y'all wanting some pumpkin recipes, so I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to kind of edge them in there once in a while. And this pumpkin earthquake cake is delicious, y'all. Them chocolate chips and the nuts and the cream cheese in there is just really good. And Danny made fun of me one day when he said how much he loved boiled okra and tomatoes. And he said, my wife just won't fix it for me. And I said, well, baloney. I said, probably not very often, but I do cook it for you. So anyways, I had a handful of okra from the garden he'd picked, and of course his peppers he's growing. I had some tomatoes, some of my little tomatoes in the freezer. So I thought I'm just going to make him some stewed okra. So that's what I done, and you know, we ate that for supper with them peas that we grew from year before last, and pieces of ham and some cornbread, and it was and some pickled beets. And it was absolutely delicious. That stewed okra was really good with them fresh peas. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And let's see. I hope to get this out by Friday afternoon, really, y'all. So I want to tell y'all now, I hope y'all have a beautiful weekend. Our temperature has went back up to the upper 80s, but I know cold weather's coming. I've been trying to decorate for fall a little bit, so I'm hoping my next video, I think I'm going to do kind of like another daily vlog. There'll probably be a little cooking, but there's going to be a little bit of decorating too. I want to show y'all some of my fall decorations that I've done, and it's stuff that I'm not going to go out and buy anything. The only thing that I bought was one mum. I'm not going to buy no more, and then I bought a few little pretty pumpkins. But besides that, I'm not buying nothing. I'm just going to pull stuff that I've got together and make y'all, or show y'all, some of my decorations. It's what I love doing for fall. I would rather decorate for fall than I would Christmas, but Christmas is fun too. So anyways, I'm going to let y'all go. Y'all have a beautiful weekend. Mr. Brown will come back and see y'all in a few days. He's a very busy man. And y'all just stay safe. Keep your house in order. Get what you need to keep it in order. And just God bless everybody. We love y'all. We will see y'all in a few days.